David, welcome to Halloween Daily. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
Thank you as well, Matt.
Man, this is so exciting for me. I mean, we've connected a couple times over the years at some various events, some conventions and stuff, and we've talked about doing this for a while, and we wanted to wait until the time was right. And I feel now it's release week as we're recording this. It's just days away from Terrifier 2 finally being unleashed onto the world, onto the public.
Finally.
And I couldn't be more excited. We were lucky enough to watch a press screener a few nights ago. Needless to say, blown away. Very excited for the world to experience what we have been lucky enough to experience already. So very excited to finally have this conversation with you.
Oh, me too, man. I'm glad to finally be able to talk about this film the way I want to talk about it. So I'm like, yay. It's been 3 years coming. I've been having to keep all this quiet for 3 years. That's hard.
Absolutely. And it has been a long time coming for fans and for you guys, for everybody.
Yes.
Before we get to that, though, and before we get to Art the Clown, we always like to learn a little bit about your origin story. And we kind of try to find our way into that, being Halloween Daily News, of course, through the holiday itself, our favorite holiday, and every day's Halloween. But, we are here talking about a new set of Halloween films and a new Halloween horror icon here that we are talking about with Art the Clown and your performances as Art. So let's talk just a little bit about the Halloween holiday. And so I always like to ask, is it something that you celebrated growing up? Has it always been a part of your life? I know since the release of Terrifier, it's probably taken on some added significance in recent years. But did you grow up celebrating Halloween at all?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
It was probably next to Christmas. That was my favorite holiday of the year. Now it's basically the reverse. I am more of a Halloween guy than a Christmas guy now. So it's just, it was always fun. I mean, I grew up in Alabama, so we actually had good fall weather for trick-or-treating and stuff like that. So there's something just magical about that time of year, with like just that just has that smell in the air too. It's just like I love the month of October, especially. It's a great month. It's just because it hasn't gotten too cold yet. It's not hot anymore. It's just that right temperature. It's like that right feel. It's just love this whole time of the year. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I don't care what they say about Christmas. This is the most wonderful time of the year.
It really is. It absolutely is. I couldn't agree more. So growing up trick-or-treating, and you must have a favorite Halloween candy. And also we always ask, what was your favorite Halloween costume? That you can include adult years on this too. Your favorite Halloween costume and your favorite Halloween candy.
My favorite Halloween candy would have to be either like because it had to be like the good candy, not the crappy stuff, not like the whatever those things with the black and the orange, whatever those were that people would hand. I'm like, who is making these still? Yeah. I'm like, who, why? No one wants that. No, I like Reese's and Kit Kats and Nestle Crunch and Twix bars. Those are my. Of course, Hershey's, dude. Just any of those I was happy with, especially like Twix or like 100 Grand bars too, because I had like everything I liked. And it had the chocolate, had the caramel, had the Crispies. Those good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, as opposed to the dentist that used to live behind me when I was a little kid that would just give out an apple and a toothbrush every year. It's like I never wanted to go to his house, but my mom's like, no,
There's always one.
Yeah, you have to. He's our neighbor. I'm like, But as for my favorite Halloween costume, I had so many fun ones. There was like one year where I couldn't decide if I wanted to be a ghost or a werewolf. So I made a hybrid costume where I was a ghost werewolf. So my body was that of a ghost and my head was that of a werewolf. And I thought I was the scariest thing ever. And I was chasing kids around and, growling at them and stuff like that. And it was crazy. Yeah, I was a weird kid. But had another year where I went as Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles. And I used a paper mache shell that my parents had made for a sketch at our church. And the shell was about as big as me, but I was insistent on wearing it for my costume. And you would just see this giant shell walking on the street, and maybe like a nunchuck swinging by the side of it. And I kept falling down backwards because of the shell, and so I'd just be on my back like a turtle upside down. And my dad was always having to pick me up, and lose my candy that way. I was like, no. But probably the funniest one I had though it was like the next year I moved to a new neighborhood, and I wanted to go as a mummy. And my mom, bless her heart, sat there ripping up a whole entire bed sheet to make the wrappings for the mummy, and like safety pinning all these wrappings together. And then I had long johns underneath. And this is a new neighborhood. We had just moved there just like a few weeks before, so no one really knew us yet. I was like, this is my big debut to the neighborhood. I'm going as a mummy. And my wrappings kept falling off.
Oh no.
And so I was always going to people's house like, does anybody have any safety pins? And so it's like as the night went on, I just became more and more unwrapped, and it was just like more and more embarrassing. So I was basically in the night I was walking around like a big wad of like wrappings in my hand and just walking around my long johns. It's like, yeah, that's a great introduction to the neighborhood. So it's like, as you do.
Yes. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Definitely some classics there. I do like the ghost and werewolf hybrid idea though. I think there might be a film in there somewhere.
Oh, probably. I mean, I just love scaring people. And I even did that in my later years when I stopped trick-or-treating. I would dress up as different things and scare trick-or-treaters. So like the best one was like the year we had set a scarecrow up on our front porch a few weeks in advance, just so people got used to seeing it. And then that night I wore the scarecrow costume, and I put all this like newspaper inside the costume just in case anybody came up to touch me, and they would just feel the crinkle of the newspaper. So like,
that's so good.
It's okay. And then of course I would just when they walked away. And the best part of it was I had some friends from high school that were water ballooning a bunch of people. Like these girls came up and told us there's these guys water ballooning people in their costumes. So I'm like, okay, I'll get them, don't worry. And they came up to the house and like, hey, Miss Thornton, is David here? And she's like, oh no, he's out trick-or-treating. Okay, well tell him hi. And I just got up, hi, and scared them. They fell down my front steps, and all those water balloons popped all over them. That was great. But like, damn it, Dave. I'm like, don't do that to girls.
Yeah, that's great. That is awesome.
Yeah, we should have known then I'd be doing this kind of stuff for a living.
I was gonna say, it sounds like foreshadowing almost, right? Scaring people on Halloween for fun, and now it's your new way of life.
Yeah, it's fun. Why not?
And it sounds like, have you always been a horror fan? Like you like scary movies, and is that something you've always been into?
I was a little bit late to it because my mom was afraid of horror movies, so we didn't really watch them in my house growing up. And it wasn't until Scream 2 came out my senior year of high school, which dates me now. But we were doing a production of Christmas Carol when the movie came out, and our cast wanted to go see they wanted to go see Scream 2, and there was a girl in the cast I had a crush on, so I couldn't chicken out in front of her because she wanted me to go. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I went and I loved it. I was like, oh my God, why is my mom so afraid of these movies? These things are fun.
Yeah.
And of course, then I immediately went and watched Scream 1 because I'm like, I had to know, Scream 1 now because, oh my God, I was like, this is amazing. I love this movie. And the next year when I went to college, my roommate, who also came from a pretty like conservative, Southern Baptist family, he didn't watch horror movies either. I mean, his family was basically the Flanders. They were just the nicest, most Leave It to Beaver type of family you could ever meet. And so, yeah, they didn't watch horror movies. So we got to college, and we would just every weekend go and just rent stacks of tapes of different franchises and just watch the whole entire catalog over a weekend. So that was fun. It was a good way to catch up.
Yeah, get a crash course right there.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. And so it sounds like you were acting then in high school. You were in a play doing Christmas Carol, you said.
Yeah.
So acting is that when it started in high school, or is that something you always wanted to do, known you were going to do?
Pretty much I was acting out of the womb because my parents are very much involved with not children's theater, but the church theater. My mom would
Okay.
direct stuff, my dad would be in stuff, and I did the church choir, so I was doing all these little shows about Jesus and
Hmm.
Moses and Noah and Jonah and all that kind of stuff. It's really bad shows, but yeah, and then
If they
later
could
on,
see you
yeah.
now,
Oh, I know, I know.
if
Some of
they,
them do see me now, like, oh my God, what happened to you?
uh, that's great.
Instead of take eat, this is my body, I'm more like, I will take your body and eat it.
Yes. Yes. So from early on with the family church plays, it's just been ongoing from there.
Yeah, pretty much. It really launched itself more for me when I was in 8th grade because I was bullied a lot, and my mom was like, your classmates need to see your real side. You're so funny when you're on stage and the church plays and stuff like that. You're so funny at home. They need to see the side of you. So why don't you audition for your choral program's production, Mickey's Christmas Carol? You do a great
Hmm.
Mickey Mouse. So why don't you audition for the role of Bob Cratchit? And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I got the role. And we're doing the show at our school, and everything starts to go wrong. Like part, like the set fell down on Scrooge, and I thank God it was just cardboard.
Oh,
But I'm like, there's another part where like at the Cratchit family dinner, the table broke and launched our little chicken over the audience, and I was like, oh boy, it looks like we're having fast food tonight. It was just that kind of stuff. I just had people cracking up during the whole entire show because I would just start improvising like that and just turn it into a stand-up routine while everything was getting fixed on stage. And I was like, God, I love this feeling of being in control like this, where it's like people are laughing with me instead of at me. I want more of this. I love making people laugh.
yeah.
And that's when it kind of clicked in my head, but it didn't really click as a career path for me until my my final semester in college. It was a year after my mom passed away
Okay.
from cancer, and I was studying to be an elementary school teacher because I was trying to be pragmatic with my life.
Hmm.
And our final conversation together, she imparted probably the best advice she could have ever given me. It was just like, you've been given certain gifts that a lot of people don't have. Don't waste them. Do what you want to do with your life and not what you think you have to do with your life. And
Yeah.
she didn't flat out tell me drop teaching, become an actor. She just put the little nugget in my head, let that fester for a while. And I was, the next year I was having a lot of difficulty, just personally because I had lost my grandmother and a friend committed suicide and my dog died right when I started my internship. And all that happened in like a month's time. And this is a year after my mom died. And I was a major downward spiral, making mistakes left and right because my brain was just not functioning. I was, just extremely depressed. And I was doing story time with my students one day, and I was doing all little voices for the characters in the story, and the kids were laughing and they wanted me to keep going. I'm like, no, we got to go to math. Sorry. And that's when it clicked. I was like, God, I'm getting so much more fulfillment out of entertaining my students than teaching them. This is my calling. This is what I really need to be doing with my life. And that's when I decided, yeah, I'm going to stop teaching. I finished up my degree just so I had something to fall back on. But I decided, I talked to my dad about it. He agreed. And I'm like, which I was surprised with because most people, when they go into acting profession, their parents are like, no, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he's like, yeah, your mom and I always thought you should be an actor. We just didn't want to tell you what to do with your life. And I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, just go up there and do what you want to do. And that's what I did. And after I graduated, I moved up to New York to pursue it professionally. Took a while,
Wow.
but it's all about perseverance in this game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is an amazing story that it how it all came to be and grew out of that. And seems like it's always been there and just kind of uncovering it and realizing it and putting it into focus where and when it needed to be.
Yeah.
And it sounds like now you're right where you're supposed to be.
Mhm.
So then that brings us, I guess, to the man of the hour, Art the Clown, and the first Terrifier film, which obviously wasn't the first time Art had ever been on screen. I mean,
Correct.
we've been talking about Art the Clown here at the Halloween Daily News for about a decade, since I first saw All Hallows Eve.
Yeah.
And that was my first exposure to the character and to Damien's work. And I've
Same
been
here.
following his career ever since. Well, that was going to be my next question. When did Art the Clown come into your life for the very first time? When was your very first exposure to that character?
I think it was around like 2014, 2015. I can't remember specifically when, but it was before I auditioned for Terrifier. I saw All Hallows Eve because I had seen like the pictures of Art the Clown. I'm like, who is this guy? I'm like, because I always loved scary clowns, and I would see him on like scary clown lists even then, and I was just like, okay, I want to see this movie then, because this character looks interesting. So I went and watched All Hallows Eve. And I was like, oh my god, this is a cool character. He's like an evil Mr. Bean, and I would always wanted a chance to play a character like Mr. Bean. And I was like, oh my god, I was just sitting there. It's like I love what Mike Gianelli, who was the original art, did. I love what he did with the character, but I was just like, God, there's so much potential. There's some places this character could go, and if I could only just get sink my teeth into it, I feel like I could do something cool with it. But I never imagined I would get the chance. I was like, I would love to play a character like that. And it was like a year later, that's when, back in 2015, I came across the audition notice for Terrifier. I was like, oh, this is it. I have to do this. And I contacted my reps. I'm like, you guys got to send me in for this. I am perfect for this. Please, please, please. And the rest is history.
Wow. That's awesome. And that movie came out, and its initial release, it was kind of quiet, and then it hit Netflix later that same year. Because I still remember it happened pretty fast.
Yeah.
From its initial, because again, we were sent a press screener, and we saw it like right before its release on Blu-ray, I think, and then it was a few months later it hit Netflix, and it seemed like more and more people were talking about it and watching it, and it really started blowing up quick at that point. So at this point, you guys had made the film, and I mean, did you have any idea making it? I mean, you were attracted to the character from Mike's performance, from Damien's work. So you already knew you were right for this role before you even had it. Now that you got the role and you're in there making the first film, did you have a feeling then that audiences were going to respond anywhere close to how they have responded?
No, not really. I had hoped, because I thought what we had done was pretty dang cool, especially like, I felt like we were breaking new ground with the genre, with our kill scenes, and I was like, oh my god, this could really go somewhere. It's just like this could be something. But I was being realistic at the time too, because we made that film for $35,000. We were a low budget independent film that didn't have any real backing by like mainstream media when we came out. It was like you guys and like Bloody Disgusting and a few other horror sites that talked about us, and that was it. And I was like, wow, this is it. But it was because of that. That's it's the horror sites like you guys that got the word out about the film, and other people started latching onto it. And that's when Netflix was like, okay, we want to see what this is. And Netflix put it on, and then boom, it exploded. But it's because of the fans. That's what made this movie as big as it is. It wasn't the Hollywood engine that makes all these other movies big by all the publicity. They just keep forcing that stuff down your throat, like, oh, you have to like this, you have to like this, you have to like this. This is purely organic through the fan community, which was a really cool thing to see happen. You usually don't see this kind of stuff happen this day and age. I mean, this was the stuff that would happen back in the 80s, in 70s and before, because we didn't have internet back then. So you would hear about those movies that you could rent at the video store that no one else was, you didn't see in the mainstream theaters and stuff like that. It's like, oh God, I gotta check this out. And that's kind of how Terrifier was. It's almost like this forbidden film in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it was very much, and still is very much, a word of mouth thing, where within the horror community, and then it's slowly growing out, to even outside the horror community, I imagine, at this point. And and in a few days, in a few weeks, it will even more so, I imagine.
That's what we hope. I mean, it's pretty cool now seeing, this character on movie posters in actual movie theaters. I mean, he's now on like the Universal Cities, City Walk right now, with all, between all these other big, like, George Clooney movies and stuff like that. I'm like, holy crap, this is better than we expected. We didn't even expect part 2 to go to theaters. We were like, when we were making it, was like, oh, we would love this. This definitely needs to be seen in a theater, but like the likelihood is very slim. So all what's been happening recently has surpassed our wildest expectations for part 2.
Yeah. And like you said, it is about to come out in theaters. In the time since part 1 and now, what, because I mean, Terrifier and Terrifier 2, obviously are about shocking people. There are some shocking sequences that stick with you and are gonna sear your brain in ways that only the best horror movies do.
Yeah.
What though has shocked you in this time frame of watching the reputation of the first film grow, the popularity, the fandom around Art the Clown, and at the same time having this anticipation over the last 3 years since Terrifier 2 was announced, all the way to now? I mean, what's been the wildest part of that ride so far for you? Because I mean, it hadn't been that long, but it's been a wild ride already, it sounds like.
It's been wild to see how big he's become in like the horror community at the conventions. That's where I've really seen it, is where I see so many vendor booths now with something with Art the Clown in it.
Yes.
And it's like, I remember talking way back in 2019, when we are still new to this. It was like we had just finished the script and everything like that. We hadn't even, cast the film yet. And we came across Heather Langenkamp at one of the conventions. And she was remarking about how quickly Art had already latched on to the fan community.
Yes.
She's like, this is astounding. She's like, it took, Robert, a few films to get the kind of recognition that Freddie got. It's like it took a while. It's like, but it's because that was back before we had the internet.
Yeah.
It's because we have these fans that are making these memes and stuff like that, all these GIFs and all. There's so much stuff that's out there, so art gets seen, and because of that, more people are like, okay, I got to see this. And there's so many ways to see a film other than just going to the movie store and renting it. You can see it online so many ways now, and so people are saying, hey, come watch this, come watch this, come watch this. So he's constantly finding new audiences, and so it's just growing and growing and growing. And I saw such a difference between pre-COVID and post-COVID, how big the character was, because so many people were stuck inside for a year of their life and they need stuff to do. And so many people found Terrifier during that time frame. And we came back from COVID, going to conventions, and we just exploded. It was, you would see it at conventions I'm not even at, even not even horror conventions, just regular, fan conventions. There's at least one person dressed as Art the Clown walking around these things. I mean, it's like you don't have those characters, that often, where people just dress up like them all the time, unless it's like the Joker or something like that. So it's pretty cool to see how big he is and how fast he's gotten so big in the fan community.
Yeah, and I can attest to that too, having been at a lot of conventions in recent years. Like you said, I mean, it's very rare a day goes by at one of these conventions that you don't have at least one, if not more, Art the Clown lurking around the hallways.
Yeah.
And I guess that brings me to something else I gotta talk about. There's this picture here that hangs in my office. This is my wife Sue with you and myself, and you're in full makeup applied by Damien. I believe this is Mad Monster Party 2019. So I think that was
Yes.
y'all's first convention, I believe. And Damien was there and he put it on. And we had this amazing morning of this shoot. And Sue and I talk about it often because it was you guys, which was awesome in itself, but it was also our friend Megan, and she was applying the makeup to the legendary Sid Haig because he was doing his Captain Spaulding photo op that morning as well at Mad Monster Party. And we were lucky enough to be able to be in that room with all of that going on. You and Sid both having your iconic makeups applied, and we were able to document it. You know, we've got footage here on the channel that people can check out. And you know, I get choked up talking about it. It's, you know, I got Sid's picture hanging up there. It's all framed right now, but from that morning too. But can you just talk a little bit about your memories of just that day, that morning, that experience? I mean, we've talked before, and obviously it meant a lot to all of us that were there because, you know, Sid wasn't around that much longer after that.
Yeah, that actually wasn't our first time. Our first time doing the costume photo op was at the other Mad Monster Party in 2018 in Arizona, because that was our very first convention. Yes. Yeah, but I think this is maybe our second or third time doing the in costume photo ops. So I mean, we were still pretty green at that time, and I just remember them asking us if, you know, hey, you know, Sid's getting his photo op right before you guys, and he's got to get in makeup. Do you guys just want to come down and like get in makeup the same time Sid is? I'm like, do you have to ask us? I'm like, you know how incredible that is? What an opportunity that is? Because that was also my first time really meeting Sid. And I was like, what an honor to just be in the room with him. I mean, he was a cinematic legend, not just for Spaulding, but so many other roles that he had played over decades of work. And I'm like, just being able to sit in the room with the man himself and, you know, two clowns getting our makeup on at the same time was something else. I think both Damien and I had barely gotten any sleep the night before, because I think we were both so excited about it. And it was just, it's such a surreal experience. I remember at one part, like Sergeant Slaughter even walked through the room and like was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh my God, it's Sergeant Slaughter. You know, and then Bruce Campbell comes in at one point because he had his photo op too. And it was like, this is so surreal, but it was wow, it was such an amazing, especially on his way out of the room when he was going to go do his photo op. You know, he came over, of course, took a photo with Damien and I, and then he turns to me on his way out of the room and goes, "See you under the big top, kid." And I was just like, in a way, it kind of felt like, you know, okay, you're part of the crew now. It was like a passing of the baton in a way too. And I was just like, that was like, you know, I almost got emotional then on the spot. I was like, oh my God. What? But he basically gave his seal of approval to me. And I'm like, wow, that was something. You know, I had no idea, you know, that he would be leaving us a few months after that.
Yeah.
It was just like, what an amazing opportunity to have. And I'm so grateful we had that opportunity, because, you know, I got to know Sid through that. And so we did a few other conventions together, and we would chat a lot and joke around, because we had a fun little competition with each other where I would always try to beat him to the floor every single morning. And he was always on the floor before I got there, and would be the last person to leave the floor every single day.
Yeah.
And this was probably about a month or so before he passed away. He celebrated his birthday. It was when we were doing Days of the Dead in Indianapolis. And it's like, I could tell he wasn't doing too well at that point, because I remember that look from when my mom was sick. And I was like, but, you know, everybody's, you know, no one was saying he was sick at the time. It's just like, oh, he just lost weight. And I'm like, I was just like, I don't know. It's just something felt off. But it spoke volumes about his character, that, you know, even though he was suffering the way he was, He was still there for the fans, you know, a month before he passed away. He even had to cancel another convention appearance that we were supposed to be at shortly before he passed away, and it was just like he was just so dedicated to the fans, and that spoke volumes. He would even, like, I remember Bill Moseley would escort him down to some of the after parties just so he could say hello to everybody for a little bit, and then he would go back up because he was tired. And it's like, it just spoke volumes about the man. You know, it's like, that's like I learned a lot from him because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with everything you said about that morning. Like I said, I mean, Stu and I, we talk about it often and have great memories of that. And definitely a highlight for us on many levels, and something that we'll never forget. I think that everybody in that room will never forget. So that brings us to Terrifier 2 now. I guess, first of all, at what point did you have your first conversation about there being a sequel, about playing Art again? Was Damien talking about it before the first one came out, or at what point did that first conversation come up?
Oh, we were chatting about that during the filming of part 1.
Okay.
Because we were being hopeful at the time.
Sure.
There was no, it was not definitive that we were going to be making a sequel.
Right.
And it's just like we just felt we had something cool there. It's like, well, it'd be cool if this catches on, then we can make a sequel. And we just started talking ideas where we could go with the sequel and stuff like that. And like, I can't even remember a lot of those ideas, but they're definitely not what was in the script for part 2. It's just like, we were just snowballing ideas then. But we definitely wanted to make a sequel then. And like, of course, after part 1 came out, then that's when, like, okay, people like this. We definitely have to make a sequel. We definitely have to make a sequel. So Damien and I were, constantly, texting back and forth, because I'm one of these, I come up with my own ideas, and I'm like, I can't keep my mouth shut. And I'm like, I'll send Damien an idea if I think of something. He'll probably say no, but maybe it'll inspire him to think of something else, or I don't know. And so we were just always spitballing ideas, and it usually came around like kill scenes. Like, he would think of something and he would text me. He's like, hey, I thought this creepy thing we can do with a kill scene. What do you think? I'm like, oh, that's fun. But hey, I got another idea. Why don't we do that? It would just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it's just like, the idea would just grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And I mean, like, I think one of the characters for the film kind of came out of one of these ideas. It's like, I don't want to spoil anything yet, but it's like the character we've kept secret from everybody for a while kind of came out of these ideas that we would just go back and forth with. So it's like,
Yes. Well, I think at this point we'll just put out a general spoiler warning for anybody at this point and say, go watch Terrifier 2, and then pause the interview, go watch the movie, go watch Terrifier 2, then come back and finish the interview, because now we're going to dig in to a few secrets and spoilers that haven't been discussed yet. Okay, everybody? So fair warning, here we go now into new Terrifier 2 territory.
So I guess now I can say that now.
Yes.
Make sure everybody's gone. Is everybody out of the room?
That's right. Everybody, make sure you're out. It's out now. So and if it's not out, it's going to be out within hours of this interview release. So you can pause it, keep the tab open, run out and watch it, go out on your local theater. And all right, so let's dig into this a little bit. And that was going to be something I wanted to ask you. I mean, there's so much I want to get into, because like I said, we just watched it a few nights ago. It's fresh in my brain, obviously, and obviously some images will probably be there for forever.
Oh yeah.
But you were mentioning a minute ago one of the big secrets that I guess we can talk about now is this new character that and that you guys did manage to keep secret despite this unheard of wait and long wait for this movie's release, and somehow there's this new character. I guess we'll call her Art's friend,
Yeah, well,
accomplice.
we call her the pale girl.
The pale girl. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, that's what the credits said. Yeah.
I'm amazed we were able to keep her a secret.
Yes.
For as long as we were, until like no one really knew about her until we did the first screening, and I was like, oh, thank God, because we wanted that her reveal in the movie to be such a what the fuck moment.
Yes.
Because even Art has that reaction to her like that.
He does.
The fuck.
Yes.
I love that character so much, and it came from this idea that Damien had of like Art and this little girl sitting there and applying makeup on each other, but then he ends up cutting up her face or something like that. That's how that. It wasn't supposed to be this, demonic entity. It was just supposed to be a little girl, and it just kind of evolved from that, I think, if I remember correctly. And he's just like, hey, why don't I just make this thing that brings him back? And I'm like, oh God, yeah. It was like that could be like one of his like past victims or something like that. And that's like this entity takes the shape of something familiar with whatever it's presenting itself in front of.
Yes.
It's, as I said, it's relatable to that whatever. So that's why it also takes the shape of Barbara later on in the film. It's just like something that can, Sienna could relate to.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you said, it's such an early moment in the film, and it is a huge just what the fuck moment where like, you're, because I mean, we're dropped right back in pretty much right where we left off with Art, and Damien kicks right in, delivering what we came for, what we bought the ticket for, and there's some of the goods, and then we get this off the wall moment, and I'm laughing, and then I'm like, what is going on here? Like,
yes.
Oh, this is cool. Oh wait, this is gross. Oh wait, what is going on here? And then we're off and running on this sequel. But I mean, just that whole opening sequence through all of that and everything before the title even comes up is just it's kind of ballsy with some of where he's going just right off the bat. So and you've talked already tonight about how you were kind of bouncing ideas off. So you were helping shape some of these ideas before filming started.
Yeah, but just a little bit. I would say 90% of those ideas were Damien's. It's like I would be lucky that if he thought anything I came up with was a cool idea, because like Damien is the master of coming up with the scary and the creepy stuff. Yeah. I'm a little bit I'm not really good at that. I'm more good at just coming up like funny little quirky things to do or something like that. So it's like I want to give Damien, like most of the credit there for that. He's just lucky to hear me out at time. I mean, I'm lucky for him to hear me out at times. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. So yeah.
And what is the young lady's name who plays the pale girl?
Amelie. Yeah, she's actually on General Hospital now.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. It's like she's doing great. She was so good too. It's because I never met her until our first day filming. That's when we were doing the possum scene together.
Oh.
And so I was amazed how quickly she picked up on things I was doing, and she started matching me, like my mannerisms and stuff like that. It's like, wow, she's so quick, and I'm not used to child actors being that quick on the pickup like that. And I was like, wow, she's good. I can play with her.
Yeah.
That sounds wrong. It's like as an actor, we could play together.
Yes.
That's what the other way sounds.
Right.
No. Jeffrey Epstein, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no. No. But yeah, that's that the whole possum scene we had together. I had so much fun, and like you only see a little bit of what we actually filmed, because God, we were doing so many different things with that dead possum.
Yeah,
I did a whole puppet act with it. Like I stuck my hand up and I was like, ah, la, 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 la. And I was doing like as a dog, trying to get to do different tricks like fetch and play dead and roll over and all that kind of stuff. For time continuity, we had to cut all that kind of stuff out. But it it was there, but you know, like she was just totally going, you know, playing along with me. And it was great. I loved it. And she's just so good. She's so creepy. She's so creepy.
Yeah, yeah, she was really good in it, and like you said with Damien, I mean, he does have a knack of just tapping into these inherently creepy and disturbing images that it's somewhere buried in the back of our subconscious. Some of it sometimes, and it's stuff that we think we kind of already knew we were scared of, but hadn't necessarily seen it. But yeah, she's really awesome in it, and yeah, that was one of the first big surprises in the film, and not just the character, but also, like I said, that you guys were able, to your credit, to be able to keep it a secret all the way until the film's release, which is a huge credit to everybody involved.
It really is, because it was so hard not talking about this character, because I'm like, oh my God, I love that character so much, because there's so many things we can do with this character, because it's this evil entity. I kind of, in a way, kind of look at it as like Art's boss. Yeah, it's just like that's the guiding presence. It's like, okay, yeah, you can have your fun, but there's also something I need you to do.
Yes. Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
And that's scary in itself, when you think of Art's boss and who is, calling the shots and pulling his strings, so to speak. That's scary in itself. But and we had that sinister entity line in the synopsis for so long, and it's just not what you're picturing or what you're thinking, when you see her for the first time.
No.
But yeah, like you said, it does open a lot of possibilities of where things could go with that.
Oh, definitely. I'm excited to see what Damien comes up with next for it. He's keeping a lot of things close to the vest because he wants to surprise me. So I'm like, oh, cool. I like the surprises. I'll sometimes suggest things. He's like, oh, that's cool. Okay. I'm like, oh, you've got something totally else in mind.
Well, when you read it, I mean, did you get shocked by the script when you were about to start filming? I mean, are you reading these things and feeling some of the shock that we as viewers get watching it?
Oh yeah. There were so many things in the script. I had no clue. Reading that script for the first time was the most fun thing for me, because I'm sitting there in Damien's apartment and I'm just sitting there chuckling and this, and he knew exactly where I was by my different reactions. He's like, oh, you got to this part. I'm like, yeah. How do you? Wow, you know me too well, man. You know my reactions way too well to know where I am in the script. It's just, and I oh God, it's so many fun things. It's like, gosh, I mean, just the laundromat scene in itself, I just loved. I love that he wrote a lot more of these scenes where Art was just doing everyday things that you don't typically see a villain doing, like just washing his clothes. And that just came about, like the whole idea is like, oh, he's bloody and everything, but we want him to be clean, because there's that great image of him just progressively getting bloodier and bloodier and bloodier as the movie goes on. Well, how do we get him clean? And we're like, well, why doesn't he just wash his clothes at the laundromat?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is great. It turned out to be it's like, that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's just so funny. It's so weird and funny.
It is. I'm, like I said earlier, I'm laughing, and then I'm confused, and then I'm like, oh, this is cool, and then it's like, oh, this is weird, and it's got everything going on in there. I did find myself laughing a lot more this time than the first Terrifier, and I don't know if it's partly because I've met you now, and maybe a little bit, I don't know, and talk to Damien, I don't know, or if it's just what's going on screen. But I feel like well, obviously almost 2.5 hour runtime, there's a lot more Art in general in here. I mean, there's Sienna's in almost every scene, but Art is in so much more than in Terrifier in this one. And it looks pretty obvious that Damien gave you some more freedom here to really just kind of play, as you say, and just kind of have fun. And I think some of that is what was making me laugh too. Just some of these choices that you would make as Art, that he, like you said, he doesn't behave or react rarely like your typical slasher or horror
No.
killer. He's very not typical in a lot of his reactions, and I think that lends to the humor and also the nervous humor that goes so great with Extreme Terror when we're laughing because we know something horrible is about to happen.
Yeah,
probably.
It's like the whole entire costume shop scene. You just there's that.
Yes,
it's funny. He has those funny moments where he's playing around with all the gags and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, oh God, you just know something bad's about to happen. As soon as he locks that door, especially, it's like, oh shit, here we go. It is like, and I think that's what's so much fun about a lot of these scenes that Damien writes in there. He has that comedy, but he knows how to use the comedy to put the audience at ease, but also at unease.
Yes.
Because something's gonna happen and there's that nervousness. Like, oh God. I mean, yeah, it kind of reminds me of like a lot of the Joker scenes in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh God, it's like I always think of the pencil scene. It's like, oh, this is hysterical, but also so unnerving at the same time. And so every time after that point, anytime Joker came on screen, you're excited about him coming on screen, but you're also nervous. It's like,
yes,
he's going to be entertaining as hell, but he's going to do something horrible.
Yeah.
And like, oh my God, what is he going to do next? And I think that's something that Damien has been so good at capturing in the script this time. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh God, what is he going to do next? We're going to be entertained, but we're also going to get freaked out and it's going to be horrible.
And keep us on our toes because Damien being the horror fan and that I know he is, having talked to him as well, he's coming at this knowing his audience. He knows that we've seen all the other movies and what we're conditioned to expecting and how he's going to tweak that in his own way or have Art tweak that in a very Art way. Like in the dream sequence, which I love as well. And that's another thing we could, spend a ton of time talking about. But, it's got this insane payoff at the end where it's Art again. It's kind of like the pistol times infinity, going where the slasher doesn't normally go and just, plowing down everybody.
Speaking of that, though, because we're like, should we attempt a same type of scenario in this? Because people aren't going to expect us to do the same similar thing again, but in a different way. It was with Barbara. Yeah, because it's like we're like, how did that land with you? Because that was one of those things. Like, I was hoping it was going to come out of left field. Like people were going to expect Art to appear like behind the car or under the car or something, but no one. I was hoping no one was going to expect him to be inside the car with a shotgun and just boom.
Yeah. No, I didn't see that coming. And you kind of think that, I felt that, if I was going to be thinking about what the next kill was, I wouldn't have been thinking that because we did see the machine gun earlier and even though that was the dream sequence and everything. But it wouldn't be Art, I don't think, or a Terrifier film if there wasn't a moment like that where he just, shoots somebody point blank, because that's kind of an Art signature now. I feel like that has to carry through in some way with each film. There has to be some moment where he does the most unslasher thing and it's just like, man, I'm done, and just blows somebody's head off. And
literally.
Yes. Quite literally.
Oh my God, that night was hilarious too. It was just like that the mess they made in that room when that thing exploded. It was just like well, it was like a bomb went off. I walked in, I wasn't in there when they did that. I was down in like the holding area down the street and I heard the boom and I'm like, oh, there we go. And about 2 minutes later, our DP George comes in going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I thought someone got hurt or something. And it's just all the meat that was inside of that head had just gone all over the room and got into the camera equipment.
Oh man.
And it was like something he had rented. So it's like thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment that he was afraid that was going to be destroyed. So he's like having to like just clean everything. You know, we had a break for like 2 hours so he could clean all the lenses and stuff like that. But I walked into that room and it looked like a meat bomb had gone off.
Oh.
I mean, I was amazed. I'm like, the coverage, like ceiling, all the walls, everywhere, where it shouldn't have even gotten this stuff had gotten. I'm like, holy crap.
It definitely takes the blood to new levels in this, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, we are going in expecting that, but yeah, I mean, I felt like it occurred to me because I rewatched Terrifier and then the next night watched Terrifier 2, and I feel like Damien, he's almost like not an American filmmaker in the way that he does his gore. You know what I mean? It's like he doesn't cut when, again, many of us that are accustomed to American horror, you know, are accustomed to the cuts coming.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He doesn't blink, you know, more like a foreign filmmaker, you know, where they're going to stay on that and just really allow you to focus and soak it in and let it stay with your brain so you can get all the disturbingness, you know, rather than, you know, well, let me rewind and pause that. It's gonna be like right there in your face. And I think that's, again, a credit to Damien and just, you know, kind of one of his stylistic. But I hear what you're saying with the coverage and the amount, because it must have been, because you see so much of that on screen. You know, the aftermath. And I'm thinking later in that bathroom scene too, later on. It's just you see so much of it everywhere. There must have just been literally gallons of blood pumped into on set every day.
Oh, so much. I mean, I remember like one night is when I was doing one of the kill scenes there in the Fright Factory location in the Terrifier.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, there's the name of the film. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
So simple. But it's like, oh, that's why it's called Terrifier. I love that. But
well, I love that too, and I love the funhouse aspect of it. And
but that night, there was so much blood used in that kill scene that I could not let go of the club because I was stuck, and they had broken for dinner, and I could not let go. And I'm like, guys, I can't let go. I'm stuck. I want to eat. Please. And then I know, like, when we're shooting the big kill scene in the movie, which I'm sure we'll be talking about in a bit.
Yes.
But we used so much blood in that poor Casey got stuck to the floor.
Man.
And she was like, oh my God, we had to pry her off the floor. There was just so much blood. It's like, I would get webbed hands too. Like the blood would just be like, I looked like I had frog hands with blood. It was just, there's so much of that stuff, but it works. But the great thing is, whatever he makes it out of, it washes off so easily. It comes out of clothes. It comes out of, you just soap and water, boom, you're clean.
Well, there is a ton, and like you said, let's talk about that big kill scene that you just alluded to.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys promised ahead of time that there was something that was going to rival or top the hacksaw scene that is so memorable in Terrifier, and I think it delivers. I don't think you're exaggerating. I think we definitely get that in this with Casey, her poor character Allie, and oh my God, this is taking Art's love of carnage to yet another level here. What can you tell us about your memories of filming this monumental kill scene?
Well, first off, it wasn't supposed to be as gory as we made it in the original script. It was already going to be pretty bad, but not that bad. And I attribute it to COVID because we started filming the kill scene right before lockdown happened, but we had to take a break from filming that scene because Damien had to start making the prosthetics for it. Then the lockdown happened, and it was like, well, crap, we don't know how long we're going to have until we can film again. And Damien he's not one to just sit there and do nothing. He's like, well, you know, we got all this extra time. I'm going to go back, because we had not filmed the coroner's kill yet either. We just started filming the beginning phase of it. We hadn't filmed the actual kill yet. And like, he's like, I got this time. I'm going to go revamp these kills. We was like, we might as well just swing for the fences. So let's go big or go home. I got the time. So he revamped both of those kills and just added more and more elements to them, because he had all that time to make all those prosthetics. He had months to do it. And so when we came back to film, you know, both of those scenes, they were so much different than what was originally intended. And he went nuts, especially on the alley kill. Oh my God, he went nuts on that. And I was like, he added 2 things to that kill. And I think he probably has listened to me in the past where I said the things that freak me out. And I think he purposely put them in there. Is anything with an eye, anything happens to an eye, I get about. And anytime a bone breaks, and he put both of those in that kill. And so it's sometimes good that we weren't running sound, because like, especially with the bone break, those are things I can empathize with, because I've experienced that kind of pain before myself. I've had a lot of eye problems my entire life, and I broke my arm when I was, you know, a teenager at Gallagher's show of all places, helping him do it's a sledge-o-matic routine. So I have a, you know, big, huge scar on my arm on both sides where like they had metal plates and stuff. So I know what that is. And then he has me break an arm, and I'm like, just that, the prosthetic, because you could just, it was whatever he built. It was so cool that you could actually do that. You could break it over and over and over. And then he's like, okay, now just tear it off. I'm like, what? Yeah, just tear it off. I'm like, oh, wow. It's like, I could not believe the things he had me doing, but I really have to like give big props to Casey though. It's just like, that was 5 days that she was doing all that. 5 days of having to go full out panic mode, screaming her head off, covered in blood. In the middle, right before Christmas, it was freezing cold snowstorm up there in Canandaigua, New York. It was so cold in that building. And she went full out every single day, gung-ho. And it's so funny because like, Casey is so quiet and reserved and just the sweetest person. And I was even like wondering, like, is she going to be able to give the performance we need for this? Because it's going to be her performance that's going to sell this kill. It's like, I can do all this horrible stuff, but if the person acting opposite of me is not going full out crazy, you know, screaming in pain, all that, it's not going to read to the audience the way we want to read. And I'm not sure. I don't know, because I never really got to see her act before. And that first day she was doing, I was like, oh shit, okay, yeah, we're good. Oh wow, she just boom. I love seeing it, because that's even kind of how I was as an actor. Like before people knew what I could do, is like I was so quiet and reserved too, and I would do something, people are like, whoa, we didn't know you had that side. And that's how it was with Casey. It's like, damn girl, damn. I was like, and sometimes I really thought I was hurting her in the moment. And so as soon as they said cut, I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? She's like, oh God, I'm fine. I'm like, wow, you're good. You're good, because I really thought you were in pain. She's like, no, totally fine. I'm like, wow, awesome. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be so awesome. We're going to gross people out, but oh my God, especially, oh my God, that what really impressed me was the animatronic dummy that Damien built of her on the bed.
Oh, at the end of the scene?
Yeah, it's a puppet that he built, and it's just controlled with 2 rods, basically, one for like the upper part, one with the lower. So we had someone under the bed and making it look like it was breathing and stuff like that. Then we had someone up above controlling the head and the mouth behind the bed. And that was walking into that room for the first time and just seeing that thing just laid out in the bed covered in all the blood. I was like, oh my God, because he got the idea for this whole entire kill scene from a photo of one of Jack the Ripper's victims.
Oh,
where
really?
she's just totally dismembered, disemboweled on a bed. And he's like, I want to take that image and deconstruct it. And that's what inspired this whole entire kill scene. So walking in there and seeing that, I was like, wow, he's nailed that. It's like it's so much about how that victim looked. And but I didn't know it was gonna move. And they freaked me out, and that head just rose up, and I was like, oh shit. And I think that's such a great moment in there, because the audience assumes at that point she's dead when the mom comes in, and the head just lifts up and says "Mom." I'm like,
yeah.
It's knowing that someone was still alive. That's just so horrible, so horrible.
It's so messed up. Yeah,
it's so messed up, so messed up. And Art's just sitting there, just happy as a clam, just wee.
Happy as can be.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what makes Art so scary and terrifying, is that it's often not enough to kill the person with Art. Like, he's, he'll, in fact, sometimes he doesn't kill them. He'll just kind of leave them in a state where they'd rather be dead, I think. And,
like Jeff's character.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That man has no dick.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I think he'd rather be dead.
Yeah.
But that's Art, leaving these horrible, mutilated victims a lot of times.
Yeah.
But yeah, that alley kill, and she, Casey's got some of the greatest lines too, I think, in the film earlier when Art comes trick or treating.
Yes.
And I just love that, because it's that nervous laughter. You're like, oh shit, she's about to be gone, but man, she has some funny, which is like, oh, I get it, dude. The whole thing, and oh yeah, the blood. That's a nice touch. Like, it's a fun kind of build up, and then Art just wanting to kind of be a trick or treater there for a minute. It feels like just kind of wanting to feel a little bit of some Halloween joy, which we can all relate to there for a minute. And then of course it's back to business. And but I love.
She shouldn't have been rude
sequence. To him. Yeah, I think. Yeah, what would have happened had she just, given him a bunch of candy? I don't know.
He would have probably still killed her.
Probably, but
maybe not as violently. I don't know.
Maybe. You never know what's going on in Art's head, and I think that's probably part of what has fascinated fans in recent years. But what's going on in your head when you're doing these scenes as Art? Because I mean, I've heard you comment a little bit on this at Q&As before, but can you talk a little bit about how difficult or easy it is for you to turn Art on and off on set?
It's pretty easy for me. I'm like but I think that goes to my stage days, because sometimes I would do shows where I had to play multiple characters, sometimes in the same scene with each other. Sometimes I had to talk to myself as different characters.
Wow.
So I had to scene. Yeah, so I would have to be able to turn on and turn off different characters. Yeah. Boom, 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 boom. And that's how I am with Art. I don't have to sit there doing the whole Jared Leto thing all day long and annoying the whole entire cast and crew.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they're say, rolling, and I'm like, okay, angry eyes. And then cut back to myself. Oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy for me, especially in part two, where I was so much more comfortable with the character. I really know where he lives now, and so that's boom, in out type of thing.
Yeah. Well, you definitely know where he lives, because like I said, you can feel that Damien and you're giving us more of Art than ever, and we're getting a little bit more of I don't know if emotion is the right word, but we're getting more to Art in this, and getting to see you do more with him. I feel is that part of this living in the skin, being the second film now, and kind of knowing that because like we have already talked about, coming into a character that was previously played by somebody else, you already had some ideas of that you could bring something more to it. And I guess what you're saying is, with this second one, you went into it with much more confidence and were able
Yeah.
to say, yes, this is my character now, and I can run with this.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Just because
Okay.
the first time I was kind of nervous because I didn't know how people would be responding to my portrayal, because I knew I was doing some things different than Mike did, because I wanted to add more of the clowning aspect to him, add a little bit more humor to him. And it's, you never know how people are going to respond to that. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like, because Mike, Damien likes to say Mike played him as a guy wearing a clown costume, but he was still a guy. And it's like, I basically play him as a clown.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the difference between the two of us. And so, yeah, I was worried, but this time around we knew, okay, the fans like this portrayal. Cool. We listened to all the feedback, and we know they like those moments, those funny moments in there, interspersed with the scary moments and stuff like that. And I also looked at him this time. Art's even more confident because he got brought back from the dead. It's like, wow, point. Yeah, I'm hard to kill now. Yeah. I might not be able to be killed. Awesome. I can have a lot more fun. I can go a lot more extreme now. I can take more risks because I can come back from the dead. Yeah. And so I wanted to add that little aspect to the character as well. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, he's definitely a little bit more arrogant and cocky this time.
Yes. Yeah.
But he's also having a lot more fun because of it.
Yes. And I think that's what I'm talking about. You can definitely feel, like you said, in the costume shops, some of the stuff. I mean, I feel like he's having more fun. And then the whole dream thing and getting into there. And I mean, that's I feel like Art just having a blast in there.
Oh God, that was just so much fun to film. Anyway,
it must have been.
That was my favorite week on set, and that was the week before we went to lockdown too. We were up in Canajoharie, New York, and away from everything. So we had no idea what all was going on in the world at the time, because we were out in the middle of nowhere. We had barely any cell phone reception, so we had no idea the world was going to chaos at that time. We were having a blast. And we had all the fans on set too from the Indiegogo campaign, because they got to be killed and things. So it's like having their energy on set just added a whole new life to everything. And that whole entire week was just fun. I mean, one day I got to use a Tommy gun and a flamethrower in the same day, and I'm like, I am like a big kid on set today. I'm like, this is awesome. Yeah. You saw that the fans were having just as much fun getting killed. I remember our pilot Thomas, when we did the first take of him getting shot, he was smiling. He was so happy. He was like, "Hey!" We're like, "Dude, you're getting shot. You're not supposed to be happy." I love that. Everybody was just having so much fun, and everything flowed so well because we were so worried about that scene because there were so many elements, so many stunts going on. I mean, I'm literally lighting someone on fire in that scene, and so many things could have gone wrong, but nothing went wrong. Everything just went so well. That was like the one perfect week we had on set. Everything went according to plan and then some. I was like, wow, why can't every week be like this?
Yeah, it was awesome. And it looks like it would have been fun too, because there's that levity for a lot of it too. And in the beginning, anyway, there's that fun levity to it, where it's not all covered in blood for a few minutes anyway. And and that awesome song and everything. And
that song! Oh, that song is going to be stuck in everybody's head.
Yeah,
it's like, oh God, that song never leaves.
Yeah, a new Halloween time classic is born.
Oh yeah, it's just like the Silver Shamrock song. Like it just sticks with you.
It'll get in your spinning in your brain every October. Well, we have to talk a little bit. Like I said, we just had an awesome conversation with your new leading lady, your co-star Lauren Rivera yesterday, and I told her, and I'm telling anybody that this character of Sienna that is introduced in this sequel. Damien has talked about it, how excited he is to introduce the world of this character. I think she's going to blow people away, both the character and Lauren's performance. I think, people are just going to really love this character. And I don't, it's the perfect foil for Art, if you ask me.
Yes.
And you've said before, you've said that she's kind of Batman to Art's Joker.
Yes.
And I've heard you say that before. So can you just talk a little bit about the importance of there being now, having set Art up, now with the sequel, we find that there is a foil, there is, a character that can basically take it to Art in the way that, not many people in this universe can.
Yeah.
Having that, how necessary that is to carry the Art mythology forward, and also having the right person play Sienna in Lauren.
Well, that's the thing. It's a huge necessity to have that balance. The universe needs that balance, and you have this extreme evil. Yes. You have to have the counterbalance to that for the universe to work.
Yeah,
and that's why this character is so important. And my God, I love this character. I know, like, Damien was inspired from Red Sonja and Ellen Ripley, and Laurie Strode. Just like these really strong, kick-ass female characters. That weren't really anybody before it. They it's this adversity that they're forged in fire in a way.
Yes.
And they come out on top, and they come out better than they were. They come out bruised and battered, but oh my God, they are incredible. And that's how the Sienna character was supposed to be. And this is a character he's been wanting to bring to life before he even came up with Art, I think. It's a character he's had in mind, and it's a character we both loved. When I first read her in the script, I'm like, oh my God, I love this character. I love this character's family too. The whole family dynamic, I think, is great. Her relationship with her little brother, and I know, like, Damien also based Sienna on his sisters and Jonathan on himself, and also having a single mom growing up and stuff like that. So it's like, the character Barbara is such an essential character too, because she's not your typical parent you see in a lot of these movies where it's like, perfect family or anything like that. Like, there's been, this family suffered a loss of their father dying from suicide around, and something I'm hoping we go further into depth with in future films. But this is a woman trying to hold everything together. And it's impacting her kids too. And Sienna, in a way, is also trying to hold everything together for the family. And I can relate to that after, like, my mom died, how I was trying to hold our family together. It's like that mantle kind of fell on Sienna, because her mom's not doing well. You can see she's becoming an alcoholic. She's drinking like crazy to deal with the stress, and Sienna's basically having to become the parent in a lot of ways. And I think that's what makes that dynamic with that family so important and so captivating. It's like, I love that whole image of, like, when Jonathan's being whipped by Art, how Sienna throws herself on him to shield him and take the blows herself. It reminds me of what my mom did when I was a child. When a tornado hit my hometown, we were at my church, and it hit my church. I was at handbell lessons. And we found out right before the tornado hit the church that it was coming. And so we ran down to the basement. As soon as we hit the basement, that's when the tornado hit the church. And my mom threw herself on top of me to protect me.
Man.
And so it's like, it's that instinctive, protective, nature. It's like, my mom was willing to take whatever was coming to protect me, just like Sienna was willing to take whatever blows were coming to protect her brother. And it's such a selfless action. And it's like, that's the difference between her and Art. It's like she's a protector.
Yes.
And I just kind of love her character. I love her character. She's like, it's and Lauren was the perfect person to play her. Oh my God. I just Damien, like, sent me her first audition clip, and I'm like, I'm in love with her. She has to be Sienna. She is perfect. Oh my God, she is perfect. And it's like, it's like, you cast her now. Cast her. Well, we have to see, have her read some more. I'm like, I don't care. You need to cast her now. She's perfect. And I remember. I even remember, like, one night on set, she was just doing a pose. She didn't even realize she was doing it, but she was doing the exact pose from the mock-up poster we had. And I'm like, oh my God, she's the poster right now. She's the poster. Holy shit, this is perfect. And she's just so good. She is just so good. And she went through so much for this role.
Yes.
So much, especially for the whole climax of the film when we're filming there in Fright Factory. I'm sure she told you about her experience with that costume in itself. That thing was a pain in the ass. But I mean, that place was so cold, and she's covered in so many liquids. And so I know she's colder than I am, and she's so tired because she is going full out every single day. I mean, I know I was tired, but I'm not having to do all the vocalizations that she's having to do, all the screaming and yelling. And for her to be doing what she was doing day after day after day after day like that, I mean, she's something else. And she's just so good. I mean, just like her acting is just so good. When we're watching, I went to the premiere there at Fright Fest, and that scene where she breaks down when she has the vision of what happened to Barbara.
Oh yeah.
I almost started crying right there. I was like, keep it together, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was such a genuine reaction. It was not fake at all. That was just, she gave such a believable, guttural performance, which I loved. And it helped me.
Yeah.
Because it gave me more to go off of. I love having actors and actresses to work off of, that they understand the whole tug of war battle that goes on.
Yes.
But it's a reverse tug of war. Instead of trying to take something, you're trying to give something to the other performer. And so you just keep going back and forth, fighting in that way. But it's not really fighting, but it's just, it's so good. That's what we had in so many of our scenes together. She's a great person to act with. And I also have to make a comment too. It's like one of my favorite moments with her was the spit.
Oh yeah.
She spits in my face. I believe this was her first time ever spitting. I think they had to teach her how to spit.
Really?
Yeah. If she's free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what I remember, because this is like, 2 years ago or something like that when we filmed that. So that's this. But she did all of that in one take. And I like to say I had a Hans Gruber moment with this, because they told me that she was going to spit on 3, but she spat on 2.
Oh,
because they wanted me to give a real reaction instead of me, anticipating the spit hitting my face.
right.
And I had no idea. And it's just like, and all of a sudden, it wasn't just a small little, it was just this big mouthful of blood that's all in my face. And I was like, oh. And it's just like that. You even see, I think they just took out the audio, but you see me turning my head at one point in the movie, kind of laughing. That was a real reaction. Me go, oh God! So I was like, damn! It was so funny. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. No, that was so good. They told me to go on too. I'm like, no, that's great. I love it. I love it. I got a real reaction. It was one of those just great moments on set.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, I think she was definitely the right one to embody this character. I can't imagine anybody else playing Sienna now, having seen it, and that climactic battle that you guys have. I mean, I think it's one of those moments, like you said, it elevates her character. I mean, we've seen Art, be elevated. I mean, I felt, Art was going to be around to stay. The first time I saw All Hallows Eve, I think I said it back then, and I knew it after Terrifier. That, yeah, this character in this movie is not going anywhere. But I feel like it's that final battle when she's just literally goes down to the pits of hell basically, and then rises back up, out of the ashes of everything, and comes at art with this fierceness that you see it on, and yeah, I mean, she's just acting the hell out of it, and I just think audiences are really gonna get behind this character because she's one of those characters, like you said, Ripley and Laurie Strode, and these characters that we love to root for, because they like you said, they were kind of unassuming and not even like the main characters seemingly in the beginning of the story. And even with this, I love how Sienna's not even in the first Terrifier. It's kind of like the fake out, which Damien does so well in the first Terrifier by faking us out and killing the girl that we think's going to be the final girl in that halfway through. I mean, it's kind of doing that, bringing in our real final girl here in the sequel here, and of course, now we've got a whole new era of this mythology opening up that is just
a lot of fantasy
starting to open up. With the whole father angle and like you alluded to, like things that can be explored in future films. And I imagine you guys have already been kicking around some ideas of where it could go or will go hopefully at some point. But shooting that climax, I mean, how long did that take? Was that like a week or two, or how long was that?
It definitely took over a week to film all of that kind of stuff off and on too. We were there at Fright Factory for several weeks doing different things, because I mean that's a big chunk of the film in there too.
That was all the stuff in the Terrifier, I guess.
Yeah, that was all in a real location there in Philadelphia, this haunted house, which was great because we didn't have to. Some of that was a set, but it was still at Fright Factory. There was like this decommissioned room with rubble and stuff like that that we just used for different purposes and stuff like that. We built things in there for, but most of that was already there in the haunted house. Like the whole bathroom, that's part of the haunted house. That the doll room, that room's so freaky in itself. Basically all those big locations were all there in the haunted house. So I mean that was great. But like the tank that she falls in, and like the whole underground thing, that was at a set we built up in Canajoharie. And I have to talk about that tank too that she goes in with the water. I'm like, holy crap, the acting she was doing underwater. For that was it wasn't like a short little dunk in a tank. She's doing a lot of stuff in that tank, and I'm like, wow. I wasn't there when she was recording that stuff that day, but I'm like, I just seeing the footage of it, I was like, oh my god, she's like having to do so much acting underwater. I mean, so she's having to keep control of herself from not to drown and not to panic, while also having to remember all those different beats of what's going on. I'm like, it just shows the incredible talent Lauren has. She is a powerhouse.
Oh, totally.
And it's like, and that's the thing. It's like we wanted this battle to be a long battle between the two, because we wanted it when she finally comes in with that final blow. We wanted the audience to just be like, yes, just like, and I love that moment between the two of them when are just like, fuck you. Fine. With the neck and whack. I love it wasn't just one clean whack and his head comes off. It was whack, whack, whack. And he's just taking these blows to the neck because he knows he's gonna be back. But it's just like that whole thing is like, okay, fine, you've won this battle, but you haven't won the war. It's just like I love that moment with them. It was just I love filming that with her. Because it was just like, it's just like, God, she just that rage she had going on there, that controlled rage. It was just, you don't see that a lot with final girls in movies. That kind of just badass, just, it reminded me of Ellen Ripley in Aliens. Just taking on the queen. It was just like, it's just loved it. I love her. She's just we truly got lucky with her, because so much of this film was relying on her performance.
Definitely.
This film, it's like I could not carry this film myself. there's no way if we had a weak performance out of whoever played Sienna, this film would have not been nearly as good. And it was her performance that just brought things to a new level.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And like I told her, I mean, we're fans. We're going to be following her career, and I just know that horror fans, fans of Terrifier, and just horror fans in general, are going to just love this character and love her work in it for all the reasons that you've just described. And people that are watching this, that have already seen the movie, everybody watching this should have already seen Terrifier 2, and I'm sure they're going to agree as well. Yeah, just blew me away. And like you said, because Art is such. He's already become. I mean, he's not even been around that long, but he's already been adopted as a new horror icon. And I feel like Sienna's going to have a very quick rise into this pantheon of ultimate final girls as well, and rightfully so. I mean, the combination of Damien's writing and how he just sets up this character, and then her performance, like you said, it's just undeniable. And you get to watch her go on such a journey from where it starts with her just putting together her costume and getting ready to have a fun Halloween night to the next 24 hours she experiences and everything that goes on from there.
I mean, she literally goes through hell.
Yeah.
Literally goes through hell and comes out on top. And it's just like, what an amazing journey her character has. What an amazing character arc. And I'm like, it gets me excited. I'm more excited to see where things go with her character than where things go with Art in future films. Because I know wherever things go with her character is going to lead to some interesting places with the Art as well. So that's why I'm so excited about that character and people falling in love with this character. I can't wait to see little girls emulating her.
Yes. Well, I was just going to say that I know Lauren, if she starts making convention appearances, she's going to be adopted and accepted and welcomed, just like you and Damien have been in recent years. And I've seen how the fans react to you guys firsthand, so I know, and I'm sure they're going to be the same with her. But yes, I can already see it in my head that we're going to be at conventions next year. And you're going to see not just Art everywhere, but you're going to see Sienna's. I see couples coming, that being a couple's costume, the way you see Michael and Laurie couples costumes a lot now. I think we're going to see Art and Sienna couples costumes sometimes. I think we're going to see just all kinds of Sienna costumes, because you could do, just like with Art, you can do the bloody version or the clean version. There's different options you can
hopefully people do the bloody apron version of him too.
Oh yes, that made me laugh too. That was another.
Oh my god, I had no idea when I showed up on set that day. Because I knew I was doing the dinner scene, but I did not know what Olga, our costumer, found. That apron with the cats on it. I was like, this is wonderful with the little frills, and I'm like, I was so in love with that costume. I was like, I was going around doing my Miss Doubtfire impersonation all night and everything. It's like, oh, hello.
Oh. Yes, Mrs. Doubtfire. I was almost thinking a little bit Leatherface too, when he had the pretty lady and the apron on, and that scene. It kind of jogged that. But yeah, that cosplay we need to see too, guys. So,
oh my god.
Spice up the Art every now and then, I want to see an Art with an apron every now and then, you gotta spice it up. You get extra points if you ask me to do the deep cuts like that. Like that's the type of stuff I want to see. But yes, that definitely was a laugh out loud moment when he's
I imagine we'll be seeing like families doing like Art, Sienna, and Pale Girl type of cosplays.
Yes, that's right.
Art, Sienna, and Jonathan, Pale Girl. Whatever. They're gonna be.
That's right, yes.
There's so many options now. It's just like,
Pale Girl. Oh, I can see the father-daughter combos with dads dressing their little girls as Pale Girl, and oh man, there you go, dads. Just like we'll be seeing coming soon to a convention near you. But we're gonna see it everywhere. I mean, these images, just like with Art, it's a combination, like we talked about earlier, that Damien manages of simple but yet highly effective and things that are tapping into, I think, our subconscious. John Carpenter always talks about how we're all scared of the same things. Essentially, it goes back to like ancient times and all. And I think, in some ways, Damien's tapping into some of that stuff. Even like you were talking about, like eyes, eye damage and broken bones. Most people can relate in some way to some of these things. Maybe not to the extreme that these characters are going through, but you start at that relatable place and then push it to the ultimate
like
Leone level.
Boning someone's hand. Oh God,
Yes.
that one got me too, and I wasn't expecting that thing to rip like it did. I'm like, oh, because I only had one shot with that thing, and that thing just a wishboned. I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's gonna stay with people. And again, total, congrats to you guys for everything, all the hard work that's gone into this, and I'm just so glad to see it paying off. Again, as we're recording this, we're just days away from the theatrical release, which in itself is insane. That a fully independent, unrated, uncensored, unfiltered movie like this is coming out in over 800 theaters across the country.
Unheard of.
Yeah,
that's unheard of. Yeah, I remember they tried to do that, I think, with Hatchet or Hatchet 2 or one of those back in the day, but they pulled them from theaters.
Yeah.
And so it didn't happen. But it's like this is unprecedented on this level. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
This is beyond our wildest expectations for this film. We are just besides ourselves right now.
Yeah. Well, you guys have definitely accomplished something, and it's been a long wait for the fans. I know it's been a long wait for you guys too, because like you said, you've been doing interviews and talking about this, but not being able to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so now it's finally a relief that this is out. I mean, I think for the other cast members, I mean the work that, like we talked about, Lauren and Casey did, and everybody in the film.
God, Kaylee as well that played Brooke.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
she was the awesome comic relief of the movie in a lot of ways. I mean, some of her deliveries, I was just like, that is a brilliant delivery. I would have never thought about delivering that line that way. And she was just so funny. I was like, especially she and Charlie, who plays Jeff together, the two of them. Because a lot of people don't know it, but I'm actually in the club scene, but not as Art. Oh. I'm dressed as a devil. Because I came one night because I just want to be on set with all the fans, because a lot of the fans were there for that scene. And so that was the first time I got to see Charlie work as Jeff. And when he came out with the ghost costume, which is pure homage to Halloween, of course, I was dying laughing at the interaction between the two of them. I was like, oh my God. And you would think these two had been best friends for most of their life, and because they just so organically played off of each other so well. Same with just Kaylee and Lauren together. They just all of them just all played off of each other so well, and they looked like they had been friends forever. I was like, they were just naturally just had that interaction with each other, and it was so much fun just to watch.
Yeah. Great chemistry. I think they nailed the casting, and I think Damien's writing was better than ever in this too. We talked briefly earlier about some of the family dynamics, and I talked to Lauren a little bit about this. How some of the movie, it's almost like a family drama in some of their scenes earlier on, but I thought the writing there was really spot on. Stuff that a lot of families talk about and how they talk, and like you said, the mom character, a lot more believable than a lot of the typical parent characters you see in some of these genre films sometimes over the years. So, again, I felt like everything was heightened to an appropriate level to follow up something that has already just in a few years gained just this massive fandom and this massive following. So it was a tall order for you guys to come in and deliver, but job well done, I have to say.
Thank you. And I know some people have been talking about the runtime, because it's a long film. I mean, it was probably about 3 hours or more before he cut it down, because there's just so much. But it's just like, I don't think if he cut anything else out of the film, it would have impacted the rest of the story in negative ways. So it's like, we talked about that, because we're like, oh my God, this thing's over 2 hours long. You don't have 2+ hour slasher films. It's just like, this is crazy. And I was like, well, when have we cared about the rules? We've always
Right.
been going against the grain anyways. We might as well do that here too. I'm like, we're at a time when people are used to 3 hour long Marvel movies. They sat through a 2.5 hour final episode of Stranger Things recently.
Yeah.
You know, Midsummer was the same exact length of ours. It's like, you know, there are horror movies that are long. They're just usually not slasher movies. I was like, well, the length really doesn't matter as long as we keep the audience engaged. That's what I kept saying. It's like and I think we've got that in spades. We don't have lulls in there. We have a few, but you know, those are for plot, character development, stuff like that. But they're not big, huge. I mean, I think like the longest time that goes on without anything crazy happening is maybe 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's because we just keep it moving, and that's the thing. I was like, okay,
And you just need that to catch your breath a little bit,
exactly. But it's like, yeah, it's like, and I know personally, I did not feel it. It felt like a 2.5 hour long movie when I saw it.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, we're already 2 hours in. Holy crap! But I know other people have been saying the same thing. It's because it just keeps moving. It does not stop, and I think that's what matters here is that, you know, and I hope this is true, but we keep the audience engaged throughout. And it's like that's we just, this time our story took more than 2 hours to tell.
Yeah, and I think again, I mean, it's like you said, it's longer than a typical slasher, but it's not 3 hours. It's not it's not as long as some prestige dramas, Oscar winning films that win Best Picture all the time are like these 3.5 hour epics and everything. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an epic horror movie that packs everything. Well, Damien said, I mean, he told me he packed everything his brain could imagine into this. And I think that might go a little longer than 98 minutes sometimes because he's got a lot to do. So, but yeah, it's engaging and it keeps you on your toes. You know, you're over here, you're meeting these new characters, and again, I go back to that opening sequence, and you know, there's just so much new stuff going on. You're just like, what's going on? So, I'm excited for people to see it. I know you guys are excited.
Oh, I'm stoked. I'm so stoked. I'm excited about seeing it again. And see, I it sounds cocky, and so I know I hate that, but I'm like, I usually hate watching myself perform because I am my worst critic. I will sit there and just I'm miserable watching myself. I had a blast watching this, and I had a fun time watching the first film as well. And it's like I don't mind watching these over and over again.
Yeah,
because I have fun watching them.
Yeah,
I'm like, so if I'm enjoying it, I'm hoping that means other people will as well.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think about it that this character, and again, I mean, I know you only played the character for the first time not too long ago, and it's still early on, but I mean, there's the very real possibility, and I'm going to say it's pretty assured in my book that you're probably going to be talking about Art the Clown in 40 years, the way that Nick Castle talks about Michael Myers all the time, and Jamie Lee, you know what I mean? These characters tend to take on a life of their own, and you've embodied them twice now. I'm sure it probably won't be the last time. Have you thought at all about the fact that, I mean, this is a new iconic killer in this genre?
I would be lying to say I hadn't. I have definitely thought of that because, you know, I go to these conventions and I see Robert Englund sitting there across from me. He's been doing this since the 80s. He's been doing this for almost 40 years now. And he still gets a huge line of people. Yeah. And it's like, I'm like, I'm hoping that that's going to be my future. I'm hoping art catches people like Freddy and Jason and Mike Myers did, how they caught my generation. I hope myself and other newer characters that are starting to come out in movies, I hope we're going to be able to have that same effect on future generations, like Freddie and Jason, all those guys did on my generation. So that's my hope. If it's gonna happen, it's up to the fans. I just hope that's where we are. And I'm also hoping that what we're doing is going to inspire other filmmakers and writers to take risks again with this genre.
Yes.
And I think we're already starting to see that, like with Ty West, with the Pearl and X and the upcoming Maxine movies, and so I'm happy to see that. I think it's kind of cool that we have like a slasher icon that's a female.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that that character as well is going to catch on with people, and I hope there are going to be several more.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we need some new blood now.
Yeah.
It's just like, as much as I love Freddie and Jason, Michael and Chucky, we need some new guys around. Just like, we had the Universal monsters for such a long time.
That's right. Yeah.
Then those guys came in, like starting with Leatherface, and it's like ushered in a new era. I think we need another new era, and I think we're starting to get into one.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we can help lead the way.
Absolutely. I think you guys are with these films. I think Art is as a character, and Terrifier is as a franchise for sure, leading the way and absolutely serving as an inspiration, like you said. I mean, I told Damien when we talked, it's been about 1.5 years now, the last time we talked, but I told him then that I feel like he's inspiring filmmakers just by doing his thing and not having a studio fund it, not having a whole lot of people in his head influencing it. And the fact that he's so hands-on, literally, with the makeup, the editing, and the writing and the directing. And I think that's inspirational. And then on the other level of what you said, of this being a new property, a new character, something fresh and original, as opposed to sequels and requels and all that. And there's a time and space for all that, but absolutely new blood. I mean, that's what's going to keep this genre going forever, is the constant influx of the new blood and the new audiences and the new blood behind the scenes. So I think it is serving as an inspiration, both to fans and to artists, filmmakers as well.
That's the hope. That is the hope, because we need it. We need it. We need to keep evolving and going forward. And it's like that's the one thing, just as a fan, watching how especially the slasher genre has been kind of growing stale over the past 20 years, because everybody's playing it too safe.
Yeah.
Everybody's too afraid of offending. And it's like, but that's, art is not supposed to play it safe. No pun intended. Yeah. It's just like, it's supposed to challenge norms. It's supposed to make people think and feel things. And like, if it means like we're making people feel disgust, so be it. If it's joy, so be it. If it's revulsion, so be it. It's like, but that's what art's supposed to do, and art's not supposed to play it safe. And this art definitely does not play it safe.
You can say
he would not wear a condom.
You got that right. Yeah, this art does not play it safe for sure. Yeah, that is the epitome of art not playing it safe. You got it. Absolutely, man. Well, I know fans are going to love this. Are there other upcoming projects that you can talk about that we're going to see you in coming soon?
Yeah,
beyond Terrifier 2, I mean.
Yeah, definitely. I've been working on another film with a lot of the Terrifier 2 team called Stream.
Okay.
Not Scream, but Stream, like you stream something online. And it's like Damien's doing the practical effects for it. Mike Levy, it's like one the exterminator I decapitated in the first film.
Yep.
He's directing it. His brother Jason is in it. But we have a lot of the horror alumni in this movie. It's kind of like an Expendables version of a horror movie.
Nice.
Like Daniel Harris, Felissa Rose, Dee Wallace, Jeffrey Combs, Tony Todd.
Wow.
Terry Alexander, Daniel Roebuck, and there are other
Very
people that I wish I could name, but they haven't announced them yet.
Oh, okay.
And so it's insane the cast that we have for this movie. It's a fun movie too. It's a fun concept, and it's something we hope is going to be another franchise as well.
Awesome.
And so yeah, I got that hopefully coming out next year. I'm going to be filming a movie in LA early next year. They're about to do an Indiegogo campaign. Actually, by the time this airs, they will have launched the Indiegogo campaign for a film called not the Bad Place, The Dead Place.
Okay.
And I play the antagonist in that, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I play the new kid in that one. So also, maybe by the time this airs, they will have announced it. But so I'm not going to say the name of the film because just in case. But I will say it's a Christmas horror movie that's hopefully coming out around the holidays this year.
Okay.
Based on a very popular Christmas story. If you get what I mean.
Ah, okay.
So yeah.
Nice. Okay.
I'll give you one guess of who I'm playing in that. So.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
That's gonna be awesome.
Oh, it was fun. It was fun. I filmed that in LA earlier this year, so had a lot of fun. It was fun doing a Christmas horror movie.
I bet. Yeah. Oh man. So
Yeah.
yeah. So you're gonna be killing it on both holidays now.
Yeah,
literally,
might as
right?
well. I might as well be a holiday killer.
The holiday killer.
Next Flag Day.
Yes, you got to take over Flag Day next. Yeah.
Flag
have
Day,
they done the
Arbor
slasher
Day.
for Flag Day yet?
Yeah, I know. We haven't had that. You know. That's fine.
Suffocate them by wrapping them in a flag or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hoisting them up. You know. Salute.
Use the flagpole. Yeah.
Bring in Sheldon to talk about the flags of the world and bore people to death.
Let's do it.
I need to write that one down.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. So, all right, so that's something we have to look forward to. The next holiday season, I guess, for Christmas this year.
Yeah. So I'm hoping they're going to be announcing that. I think they intend to announce it next week. Well, by the time this airs, it should be announced then. But I just want to play it safe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds good. And
who knows what else? I'm putting this out to the universe now because I know the Duffer Brothers are talking about doing a live action version of Death Note.
Oh, nice.
I want to play Ryuk so badly.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I would just love to play Ryuk. Oh my god, I would love that. I love apples anyway, so. Plus, that's like one of my favorite animes, and I'm like, oh my god, I would. So, just putting that in the universe. So, if the Duffer Brothers are listening, Ryuk, baby.
Nice.
Come on.
I could see that.
Put me in, coach.
Yes. yes. Well, hey, maybe they'll be listening. Maybe they'll.
You never know.
But I can
Stranger
see that,
things have been known to happen.
Yes, they have. Awesome. Well, there you go, Duffer Brothers. There you go. Get on it, guys. And Terrifier 3, is it gonna happen? I mean,
oh, you gotta. Yeah, I mean, I gotta fight Jericho now.
Yeah,
I have to.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We have to have Art versus Chris Jericho moment.
That's gonna be. Yes. Yeah.
How that's gonna happen? Who the fuck knows, though?
But it's got to.
That's the thing. Also, stay during the credits, folks. Stay during the credits.
Yeah.
What a fucked up scene.
Yes.
I want to talk about that real quick.
Okay.
Too,
Yeah.
We had originally shot a different version of that, and then Malignant came out last year, and the big twist in Malignant with the face in the back of the head
yeah.
was almost exactly like what we filmed, and we're like, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
And they do it so well too. We're like, ah, damn you, James Wan. But it's like it was so interesting how, like, both Damien and James Wan had that same kind of idea around the same time about that whole Richard Mordrake type of face in the back of the head thing, and we're like, oh god, we can't release what we have because people are gonna like, oh, you stole that from Malignant. And I'm like, yeah, and we're not gonna be able to do what they did with Malignant. We're not gonna be able to do that better than what they did in Malignant with that twist. I mean, that was such a great moment. I'm like, ah, man. So we had to go back and reshoot the ending earlier this year, but I think it gave us a better idea. It was a very serendipitous moment though, because we have a better idea what to do with Victoria going forward.
Okay.
And that's a character, I'm really wanting to see get fleshed out more, because that's one of our biggest regrets from the first film. It's like we didn't really get to flesh out Victoria as much as we wanted to, but now we got a chance to, because Samantha is so good too.
Yeah.
And I really want to see Samantha just really flex her muscles in the future. I want to see her go to some crazy places. So I'm stoked to what I have no idea what Damien has in store for part 3. He's trying to keep a lot of things a surprise for me. So I'm like, but I'm excited. So yeah, we have to have a part 3. After that ending, yeah, we have to have a part 3.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait. And hopefully there won't be another pandemic we have to go through in between films, but we'll be here for it whenever it happens. And we're gonna be looking forward to that. But right now, man, people are gonna get on this ride. They're gonna go through this fun house called Terrifier 2, and I think they're gonna have a killer time and just have a blast.
That's at least what I'm hoping. I think they will. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. Well, you guys should feel really good. Like I said, this is a fresh breath of new blood here for the genre, and yeah, I think fans are really going to respond as they have, for the first Terrifier. But
regardless, I'm whatever happens, however we're received, I just have to say I am just so freaking proud of our cast and crew with what we accomplished. I feel like we accomplished the impossible with this film. And it's all because of the dedication of that cast and crew, willing just to go above and beyond for this. Everybody cared, and it shows, I think, and I think it translates to the screen.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and again, I can't wait to talk to more cast members and learn more behind the scenes stories and get to know everybody more, because I think like most fans of this stuff, we can't get enough, and we're all gonna enjoy connecting with all of them as well.
Oh, definitely. They're a fun bunch of people to talk with. I'm sure you'll have a blast talking to them all.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been amazing. This has just been a pleasure getting to know more about you and to know you a little bit better. And like I said, it's been a long time coming. We've talked about doing a sit down like this for a while, so I'm glad we've finally done it. And I know it won't be the last time. I know we'll talk again, maybe around the stream release, maybe sooner for this Christmas movie.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely talk again. And again, I just can't thank you enough for hanging out with us and talking all things Art the Clown tonight. Hopefully it feels good for you to finally be able to talk about this a little bit.
It sure does. Thank you. This is, I think this, outside of just talking to like the production side of our distributors and stuff like that, so I think this is the first time I've really been able to just sit down and talk in an interview you about the film. So it feels good. It feels so good to finally talk about this stuff. I was like, oh, finally. Thank you.
Yes. Is there anything else you wanted to get out there, or any other message that you wanted to send the fans as the film is being released this week and it's finally out there? Is there anything you want to say to the Art the Clown fans of the world?
Yeah, just a big thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because it's the fans that made this entire movie possible. It's like we wouldn't have, had the recognition if it wasn't from the fans to make the film in the first place. We wouldn't have had the funds to make the movie because the fans largely funded this film with the Indiegogo campaign. It's been the support and everything through all these years too that's kept us going, because we made this film for the fans. This is a film made by the fans for the fans, and I really hope you guys love what we did, because we had so much fun making this for you guys. Thank you, and thank you for your patience over these past 3 years. I know it's been tough, but I think it's been worth it, and I hope you have a blast with this film. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And again, thank you so much for all you've done for this role and for hanging out tonight and talking to us.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
And of course, happy Halloween.
Happy frickin' Halloween.